Well. Look what we have here. What's going on, everyone? So, Zach LaVine and the Bulls are open to exploring a trade. Breaking NBA teams are probing the availability of Zach LaVine as there is increased openness from both sides on exploring a trade per Shams. Well,
what's happening? Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Now, I want everyone in Lakers Nation to just take a breath, pump the brakes on the Zach LaVine to the Lakers, because very likely Zach LaVine is not going to be a Laker. I know many people want Zach LaVine. I know many people would love to see Zach LaVine in a Laker jersey. Zach LaVine definitely would help the Lakers tremendously, but we just don't have enough to where it would make sense for the Bulls compared to some of these other teams. Even a team like the Knicks last season were trying to get Zach LaVine and were willing to put together a Godfather package as based on the reports. We have no chance of competing against some of those other teams. Zach LaVine is a longer-term contract, so even if he came out publicly and was like, I only want to play for the Lakers, doesn't matter. We saw what happened with Damian Lillard. Team goes and trades for him. He's going to end up playing for that team. So very likely, the Lakers are not going to land Zach LaVine. But what this does mean is Demar Derozan, right? I've talked heavily that I think Demar Derozan is the most likely to end up being a Laker, and that I believe at some point this season, DeMar DeRozan will be a Laker. Now, this isn't happening tomorrow. Even if Zach LaVine gets traded today, this trade isn't happening tomorrow. We have to wait till at least December 15th for any type of trade, any type of deal. But the Zach LaVine getting traded part is the first domino that I believe needs to fall. Because if they trade Zach LaVine, they're not going to keep DeMar DeRozan, especially when he's a free agent, and they're not going to keep this team intact. Now they're going to start looking to sell off parts and start looking to unload guys. And that's where DeMar DeRozan can force his way to the Lakers. We know DeMar wants to be a Laker. He's talked more about being a Laker than he has being on the team he's on in Chicago, right? And we know that if we were to trade for him, that he would re-sign and we wouldn't run the risk of him leaving. And because he's a free agent next year, as opposed to Zach LaVine, if DeMar kind of makes it known, like, hey, I want to go to Lakers, like, if you're going to trade me to the Lakers, then that just gives more power, more likelihood. Also, I believe we have enough to go and acquire a DeMar DeRozan just because, look, DeMar with his age, again, being a free agent, there's not many teams that are going to be willing to give up what is necessary to acquire DeMar DeRozan over what the Lakers can give up and run the risk of him leaving in the offseason or him not resigning or even, like, do they really want him long term? Where the Lakers, they are in win now mode. They need DeMar DeRozan, and he is still young enough to where you can have him throughout at least the LeBron tenure and maybe even slightly after. His game isn't really, predicated on athleticism. But the other thing is how many other teams are looking at DeMar DeRozan and going, that's the missing piece, that's the guy we need. Where the Lakers, they do. The Lakers could use DeMar DeRozan badly as just a consistent go-to scorer, as a guy that can close and hit clutch shots down the stretch, as a guy that can shoot over the top. Defensively, he's not the greatest, but he does have the ability to make plays, get guys involved, right? Like, you can get rid of D'Lo, put a package around D'Lo, right? Probably D'Lo and Rui or something is probably going to be the start, and you throw in a JHS or a Maxwell Lewis or something, throw in a first-round pick, and then you go get DeMar DeRozan, and you could have a starting five of like DeMar DeRozan. You could go with like Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Or if Cam Reddish continues to show what he's been showing, you could go with Cam Reddish to kind of help make up for the lack of defense. DeMar DeRozan isn't worse than D'Lo when it comes to defense, but he is going to give you more consistency. He can still make some plays. He can still get some assists. He can help take pressure off of LeBron, off of AD. DeMar DeRozan would be seamless. But also, it is very unlikely, not impossible, but it's very unlikely that we trade for just DeMar DeRozan. Just because he's at a reasonable salary. He's at like, $28.5 million. So he's at a salary in which we can put the pieces together to pull off the trade. But we would have to put together several players to go and make the trade work for DeMar. And if we did something like a Rui Hachimura and a D'Angelo Russell, then we are now over what DeMar DeRozan is, which means we'd have to get some other pieces. So it would very likely would be DeMar and something else. Well, Alex Caruso is somebody that has been linked to the Lakers, and the Lakers supposedly really want badly. I think he would be great. I also really want to see the Lakers go get a Andre Drummond, right? Like, I would love to put a package together of, like, say, Rui, D'Lo, JHS, even if you want to throw in Maxwell Lewis, just because, again, we're in win now mode. I really like Maxwell Lewis, but I'd rather keep Christie, and my thing would be trying to keep Christie and, like, give them everything else, right? And then give up the first round pick, the pick swap, all that stuff, right? So you basically just put together this great package for them. You got some nice young talent. You got some pieces that could help you now and the future. You could either look to flip D'Lo or keep D'Lo because he's still young, so you could kind of rebuild around him. Now you got Patrick Williams and you got Rui Hachimura as your two forwards. You got D'Lo who could be your point guard, and you just kind of put the rest of the pieces around those guys. You got some young guys in JHS as well as Lewis. I think that that's a pretty good deal. And then we get DeMar DeRozan, we get Alex Caruso, another point of attack, sizable defensive guy that we could throw out, which the Lakers need for perimeter defense. And then you also have Andre Drummond, who can help with the rebounding, help with, some interior defense, some interior size, just another body to throw at the Jokic's and stuff of the world. And now the Lakers have pushed their chips to the table to go all in. That is personally what I would like to do. And when you look at something like, so again, DeMar DeRozan's making $28.6 million this season. You got Alex Caruso making around $10 million. And then you have Andre Drummond is making, I believe, like around or just under $3 million. So you're looking at about $40 million in salary, right? Give or take, because you got about 38 with Caruso and DeRozan at another 2. So you're looking at about 41 million. The Lakers can get there. I know people have said, like, oh, why don't you trade Gabe Vincent? Again, it's got to make sense for the Bulls, right? Like, why? Like, what do they need Gabe Vincent in his 3-year contract for? Now, if maybe you get a third team involved and maybe a third team wants Gabe Vincent, then yeah, maybe you could work something out and somebody's like willing to give up another young piece or a pick or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think we'd get first for Gabe Vincent, but maybe we could get, a couple seconds or something like that. Maybe like a young prospect that you could send to Chicago, right? Like, you can make it work. But my point is that you get DeMar DeRozan, and then if you can get an Alex Caruso or Andre Drummond. I wouldn't even hate it if we got like DeMar DeRozan and Andre Drummond. Like, let's say we weren't able to get Alex Caruso, because I do think that there are other teams that are willing to go and acquire Caruso. You could also make an argument, maybe you go after Vu. Problem is that, like, if you go get Vu, like, now you're talking like 50+ million, right? But at that point, would they be willing to take Gabe Vincent? Because it's like, hey, we're getting you off of Vu's contract that you just re-signed, right? And maybe go get Vucevic and DeRozan, right? And give up, the 2 first. I don't know. Time will tell. Again, the first domino to fall before anything is Zach Lavine. If Zach Lavine doesn't get traded, then I could see Chicago talking themselves into, like, hey, we might as well just ride it out this year, rather than DeMar DeRozan, them looking at it as like, okay, well, DeMar DeRozan, he's going to be a free agent. We should unload him. Let's ship him off to the Lakers, get what we can while we can, right? But Chicago has several very nice pieces for the Lakers. Several very nice pieces. I think DeMar DeRozan, though, I think he's a Laker. I really do. I think by the end of the trade deadline, right, when you can no longer make trades, DeMar DeRozan is wearing a Laker jersey. I just think it makes the most sense for DeMar. I think it makes the most sense for the Lakers. I think it makes the most sense for the Bulls, because they're probably not going to be able to move him for anything reasonable other than the Lakers? Because again, how many contending teams are looking at DeMar DeRozan as the missing piece? Because DeMar's not going to want to go to like a Detroit or something, or go to like a Memphis or something. He's going to want to go to a team to where he has a chance to try to win an NBA championship. The Lakers would be one of those teams. And I don't know how many teams are looking at DeMar and going, oh man, he's the piece we need, have the assets and salaries to go and trade to the Bulls, and also have the salaries that make sense for the Bulls, right? Because you got to keep that in mind. Like, yeah, there are teams that have bad long-term contracts, right? Like Miami has some long-term contracts, but like, would the Bulls want any of those pieces? Like, that's the question. I do think Miami is probably our biggest competition for DeMar, right? Just because I think DeMar makes a lot of sense for Miami too. Like a lot of the same stuff Miami needs in DeMar DeRozan, the Lakers do. So, you know, it's one of those things where I do think Miami might be our competition. But I think if, you know, D'Lo, Rui, first, and, you know, you throw in a JHS or something, I think is better than what Miami's going to give up, because they're not going to trade Hero or anything like that. They weren't willing to trade him for Damian Lillard. So, but anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you think DeMar is coming to Lakers? Do you think that this is the beginning? You know, are you hoping that it is? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. I appreciate you all. See you in the next one. Thank you.